Hello, my name is Joanna Rose. Welcome to Thales Sentinel's interactive webinar with Michelle Robidoux of Extreme Networks. Today, Michelle will walk us through their process of implementing software licensing and entitlement. She will focus on the aspects that can serve as a relevant guidepost for your company. She will address Extreme Networks' approach to software licensing, how licensing fits into digital transformation, how it impacts your relationship with your customers. And Michelle will candidly review the challenges Extreme Networks faced, how they addressed those challenges, and the remarkable results they have seen in revenue and profitability. Below the video screen, you will find a tab that includes attachments with supporting materials that will further enrich your experience today. Also below is a box for your comments and questions. Following Michelle's thorough presentation, she and Manoj Tharakan of Thales will answer your questions. So please use the chat function throughout the presentation to post your questions as they arise. Now, I will turn it over to Michelle Robidoux.
A little on me. I am an IT practitioner. I work at Extreme Networks, and my role there is really a business/IT liaison between our business and IT organizations. I work cross-functionally, so I work hard to establish and maintain strong networks with each of the lines of business as well as the product business units. My background has been in large cross-functional programs. Typically, these are very complex programs, have a lot of intersection points across companies, and as in most things, it's not always the technology that's the difficult part. The most important part, and the part that I work the hardest at, is maintaining positive working relationships. So in terms of Extreme Networks, we are a company that focuses on serving our customers with the best possible solutions. We are currently at 1.1 billion in revenue. We have approximately 2,800 employees. In terms of what we do, we are leading the market with our cloud networking innovations, and we continue to increase our pace of development and innovation to ensure that we're always meeting market needs. We are a cloud-driven company. Extreme uses cloud services really, including management, analytics, machine learning, artificial intelligence, so on and so forth, to really help companies simplify and secure their enterprise. In terms of who we serve, we have approximately 50,000 customers operating in 80 countries. We are primarily an indirect channel seller, so we rely heavily on our partners. And we have approximately 7,000, and that figure continues to grow. We are 100% insourced in terms of our services support organization, which is fairly uncommon and has earned us the #1 service and support vendor for the customers that we have. We are continually ranked #1. It definitely makes a difference. In terms of our product portfolio, we grew the product portfolio through typical internal research and development, organic development, if you will, and through acquisitions. Some of the acquisitions that we've made are starting in 2013, Entitlements, Zebra, and then we had a couple in 2017, Avaya and a portion of Brocade. And then our latest is Aerohive. So those are some of the acquisitions that we've made to really round out our portfolio and to ensure that we've got the best technologies, the third generation, fourth generation cloud technologies. We're not a first or second generation cloud company. We were born in the cloud and remain there, and we make sure that our tools are also built that way. In terms of what the market says about our company, just some highlights. Extreme went from being a newbie on the block to the #3 enterprise networking provider. And we are also a a networking pure play provider. The marketplace actually loves the products that we're bringing. They love the way that we've grown. They love the fact that we're edge to data center. We span all of it, of the hardware products, the management solutions, where we've got it all, and the customers are thriving and very, very happy to be working with us. Ultimately, because we build transformational cloud-driven networking solutions. It's our business, and that's our genius. That's where we play. That's what we do. So, to kind of jump right into licensing. The bottom line is, we had a number of licensing issues, as you could probably tell through the acquisitions that we made, as well as the status of our internal licensing solutions before acquisition started. We had a proliferation of licensing solutions. So not only did we have a number of solutions before the acquisitions, but as we made each acquisition, some of those companies had multiple licensing solutions. So we ended up with a number, I would say probably over 12 licensing solutions that we had to organize and bring into the company and connect to our back office systems. This obviously adversely impacted the customer experience. As they were activating licenses, looking at their contracts to see where they were with their subscriptions, it was a little confusing for them because they didn't know what they were going to be asked for in order to activate their licensing. Effort. Just maintaining the volume of those licensing solutions was not cost effective. There were no efficiencies realized in terms of our product engineering groups. Engineering groups had to select between those 12 licensing solutions and figure out what they wanted to integrate into their products. Trying to standardize across 12 with different product engineering groups having different experiences with those 12 solutions was very, very challenging. What also made it challenging was trying to standardize at all. We didn't really have a licensing policy for the company. We knew we needed one. We knew we needed to establish kind of the guardrails so that product teams understood the direction of where licensing was going with the company and what the expectations were for licensing in the company. So that was one place we had to spend a lot of time and do a lot of work. In addition was just the impact. Obviously, this has been going on for years. Hardware has been commoditized. We were a hardware company and we built software to manage our hardware. However, we've moved to a software and service company. That's our revenue stream now. It's that business model needed to be operationalized, it needed to be automated, and it impacted everything from opportunity to cash systems. So, we have 8 core systems that work from opportunity through to cash and billing, as well as licensing and entitlement management. Those solutions had to be integrated. So that's where we were starting from. What does that mean? It means that it was painfully apparent when we would have conversations and we would ask who owns licensing with the cross-functional business units we were working with and with the product business units themselves. Everybody kind of raised their hand and say, "Oh, I have a part in licensing." Stand up and say, "I own licensing for the company. I'm going to facilitate the strategy. I'm going to work to get a budget. I'm going to work to get our policies in order, and I'm going to work to prioritize all of the IT work required to do the integrations and to do the automation of the business processes from opportunity to cash." So the bottom line is, someone has to start with a strategy and work across the corporation. The licensing touch points, right, just at a high level, you've got your packaging, pricing, and billing. Okay, that's what your PLMs, what your product business units are focusing on. They're using new product introduction, go-to-market, and go-to-market business processes to work across the organization to make sure that they're in sync with those items. Obviously, they've got to worry about product onboarding. They've got to get onto the right licensing solution, the one that we're going to standardize on. They've got to understand what standardization really means. What is the licensing policy? How are we going to manage things like expiration? When a subscription expires, are we actually going to shut the product off and have it stop working if they don't renew their subscriptions? What do we really mean by standardization, and what is the licensing policy of the company as a whole? I already spoke to back office integration and automation. Like any company, there are certain areas within the end-to-end opportunity to cash process that sometimes required manual intervention. Depending on what the customer was looking to purchase and how they were looking to accomplish that. We wanted to get rid of that manual work. We wanted to get better automation and have more orders, more quotes flow untouched from opportunity all the way through, or I should say from quote all the way through to cash. Revenue recognition. When you're switching from a hardware-based company to a subscription-based company or a software-based company, software and services, typically you're moving to subscription if you're not already there. And the types of products that you're selling, be they a SaaS solution, be they an on-premise installed solution, if software is exchanging hands, that all determines when revenue recognition occurs and whether it's done up front, whether it's done over time. With revenue recognition, you've got your financial items, your financial concerns, such as how you're going to handle your billing, but we'll get into that a little bit later. And then ultimately, service and support. The support organization needs to understand whether or not the customer has purchased support from us. They have to understand what is supported, what the customer owns is actually on a support contract, and they also have to understand the licensing of the various products the customer owns. And so you can imagine that was pretty difficult for them when we had a plethora of solutions. But this is really what owning licensing in your company means. This is critical. If there's not somebody working across this and managing across this and reporting out across all of these touch points, it's hard to measure your success. It's hard to say what you've accomplished. It's hard to set any sort of course or direction for future enhancement. So we chose to take like I'm sure most people would, a holistic licensing approach. We didn't say, look, we're going to standardize on Thales Sentinel Cloud, and that's all we're going to do, and we're going to integrate that with our back office, and that's the end of our work from a licensing perspective. What we wanted to make sure we did was take a holistic licensing approach so that we understood from all aspects of the company what we wanted. So some of what we wanted and what we expected out of licensing was, monetization, right? At the end of the day, moving from a hardware company to a software and services company means you've got to protect what you're selling and monetize that. Recurring revenue. I've already mentioned subscription. Subscription's not the only answer, but that is a big part of the go-to-market process to help ensure recurring revenue through renewals and such. There's also more to that in terms of the types of solutions you offer. Some companies offer a solution, but what we've done is we've looked at our offerings and we have like I hate to say this, but a good, better, best offering, or a minimal, commonplace or robust offering of solutions. So companies can grow what they want to implement over time, and we have solutions to help them grow over time. And so that becomes a really great recurring revenue path as well. So it's not just about subscription, it's about how you're offering your products and what the customers expect of those products over time. We've got, obviously, economies of scale, getting to a standardized licensing solution that is fully integrated with the back office, where entitlements are created, where products are actually doing touchless activation and actually going into the solution and ensuring that entitlements are in fact available and that they are in fact within the boundaries of the right term. So in order to create those entitlements, in order to get them over there with the right dates so that the products can actually come in, make calls into our licensing solution, and actually get their entitlements, means that we've got to automate that process. And we've got to make sure that in addition to getting the entitlements associated to the right customer, that the customer's products are only taking entitlements that were purchased by that customer. And then helping our product teams to basically implement means, once we train and provide a solution for how to onboard licensing into products, and we make it as cookie cutter as possible based on the type of software we're talking about, there's a lot of economies of scale, realized through that process as well. Customer experience. Obviously, we want to delight our customers. We want them to have a very simple and straightforward engagement with us. We want to make it easy for them to do business with us. Licensing should not be an impediment. It should not be something the customer has to overcome in order to use our products. We've got to make it as seamless and as transparent as possible. Next item is data visibility. If we're going to do licensing, if we care about what our customers are actually consuming and which features of our software products are actually being used versus what they've purchased, we need to provide that data visibility not only to our internal, to sales and renewals, but we've also got to make it available to the customer. It really will help with the sales motions and the conversations that occur during renewals if this data is available to both parties, both our customers, our partners, as well as Extreme. So what does this really mean? It means that we're not just going to do licensing for licensing's sake. That's not a valid business proposition. The licensing has got to be part of our overall transformational business strategy. It's got to be integrated. People have to understand what the value of it is based on their role in the company, based on their role with us as a customer or a partner. And like I said, at the end of the day, it's not supposed to be an impediment. It's not supposed to be a hurdle that people have to get over. It's got to be seamless. So, all that being said, it's a journey. You've got to establish priorities and partnerships within the company to make sure that the program can start up. It can set some boundaries on what it's going to do in the short term, midterm, and long term. Because it is a journey, it does require a roadmap, but it's not one roadmap; it's multiple roadmaps. But how do you establish priority? Well, if you've got an owner, if you've established an owner of licensing in your company, that owner has got to get the program buy-in. They've got to work to get funding support, and they have to ensure that executive management understands that they've got to provide some leadership and communicate down into their organizations. Now, this isn't easy. How do you do this? Well, chances are you've got data that in terms of what you're spending on licensing today, just simply from, the amount of time and effort it takes to onboard a product onto a license, one of maybe many licensing solutions you have at your company, but you've also got, the cost of the solution, the cost of supporting the customer if in fact that there are issues and automation that is not available, and if you're relying on manual processes. I mean, there's a number of ways to get to what the company is spending today. The fact that it's money just going out the window. There's no future investment in that money. That ultimately a new solution, integrated, automated, that provides the detail, the information, and the data visibility is really what's needed. So you need somebody strong that's going to work with your executive management to be able to get that funding. This person also has got to work bottom up. I mean, it's one thing for executive management to give an edict and demand that their areas, their organizations support the licensing program. It's another thing for those people, the people who do the work day to day, those SMEs, to actually understand what it means to them, what their organizations are going to get out of it, what it means to really be a part of the change. The best thing that you can do is get your subject matter experts in the various lines of business and get them to a place where they can actually have conversations on the goals and objectives about the program, where they can actually talk across functional lines of business. They could talk with their management and really kind of push and evangelize the program to help it gain some groundswell and some momentum. The owner can't do it alone. In terms of creating partnerships, I've kind of really touched on this already. There are, tremendous business impacts if you really want to automate the solution. So whether you're talking opportunity to cash, whether you're talking about your renewals process, your sales motions, your service management, any of that, they've got to be front and center, because at the end of the day, they're the ones processing the orders and then servicing the customers. Your product management organization, they're going to have different ideas of what they expect out of licensing, and getting to a place where you've got that licensing policy and helping them understand that the licensing policy is benefit for the corporation, for the entire company, and then help them understand where there are guidelines or guardrails on what they can do at a product level, because different products may have different needs. But at the end of the day, there are certain things that are expected for every product, and there are certain expectations from a customer experience perspective. So they need to understand what those are. They need to understand how to onboard, what the APIs are, what the libraries are, and so that they can actually license features of those products and understand what their go-to-market strategy is really going to be for that product. And then we've got the work that needs to be done. Somehow everybody's got to put up resources, right? So you need your resource allocation from all the cross-functional areas. You need people that can help lead business process changes cross-functionally. Typically, these are people who are the SMEs, who are very aware of order to cash or quote to cash, and are very aware of new product introduction and go-to-market work. So those are the folks that you need. You've got to get those resources allocated, which means you're taking them away from their day-to-day work. How are you going to do that? Well, that could be part of your funding, right? Maybe you need to backfill some of those resources so that they could, the SMEs can actually truly focus a good portion of their time exclusively to your licensing program and be able to offload some of their day-to-day work. So we've been talking about how this holistic approach, how to bring this all together, and most companies have started, are in the middle of. I don't know of any that have ended their digital transformation, but certainly digital transformation, it's where companies are putting a lot of their money and betting a lot on digital transformation to change the way they do business, to operationalize it, automate it, and make it simpler. So licensing's got to be able to fit into that, right? Licensing is cross-functional. It's part of the digital transformation journey. So if your company is already spending time, money, resources on their digital transformation initiatives, licensing, a good way to work this is to have licensing plug into that. So the goals of digital transformation, I'm going to bring you through 3 goals and kind of demonstrate how licensing would fit into those. The goals of digital transformation are going to be somewhat similar from company to company, right? At the end of the day, you want to deliver customer results. You want to deliver the right solutions at the right time to your customers. So how is licensing going to plug into that particular goal? And part of it is product packaging. I mentioned a little earlier in the presentation around good, better, best, or minimal, customary, and robust value-based solutions, right? You want solutions that companies can start with where in their journey of what they're looking to accomplish, and then you want to have solutions that grow with them, so that as they mature with the products that your company produces and sells, that they've got a pathway to grow with your company and to grow into better, more robust features of the solution when they're ready. In terms of product pricing, we've been actually bundling our software with service. So from a licensing perspective, the licensing and the service to support that software product are actually bundled together and priced together. And then we've made changes to our back office systems to be able to handle the revenue recognition of a single SKU that contains both software and service. Then there's product billing. We talked about the upfront billing versus monthly billing for terms if that's something your company wants to do. And there's also utility billing, right? Pay as you go. Your licensing system has to be able to demonstrate what's being used, when it's being used, so that you could have accurate utility billing. So those are some of the ways you can deliver the right solutions at the right time to your customers, and licensing can be a part of that. In terms of the digital transformation goal of aligning direct and indirect sales motions to deliver value for the customer, well, licensing can click into that and help fulfill that particular goal through the use of portals. Right, so you're going to have a licensing portal, but it's not just a licensing portal. It's not just about activating entitlements, right? Most people are doing this today in terms of software fulfillment. If it's not a SaaS solution, there's software that can be accessed and downloaded and installed. You also want your customers to see the contracts. Give them a summary view. Show them the hardware and the software, the entitlements for that software, and the service that they've purchased from your company. And if they've got multiple contracts, show the contracts. Let them see the detail. Let them understand the relationship that they have with you. In terms of support case management, if you're having an issue and you're looking at your contracts, figuring out what's going on, you've got an issue with a piece of hardware, with maybe a defect with software, let them open up the cases against the hardware or the software they're having the issues with. Do your support case management and integrate it with the items listed on the contracts that the customer purchased. And then there's obviously the usage. If we're going to provide value to the customer, we need to understand feature utilization. We don't want to just know what they purchased. We want to know what they're actually using. And if you license by feature, and the products consume the entitlements based on feature, you get a very good picture of what each individual customer is actually using from your portfolio, your product portfolio. The last digital transformation item is, this is a big one, right? Reimagine your business processes, potentially even the culture of your company, the customer experience, and and as you're looking at that and reimagining it, ensuring that there's business agility built in. I mean, none of us have a crystal ball. We know there's going to be the next disruptive technology that comes down the pike that you're going to have to, contend with and deal with. But if you build a culture knowing that that's going to occur, knowing that, your business processes will change and mature over time, and that the company needs to be agile in the way that they respond to it, you'll hopefully, achieve your goal. How does licensing fit into that? Well, in your new product introduction and go-to-market collaborations, you really should, reimagine those business processes. If you are a primarily, hardware-driven company, as an example, those processes need to change when it comes to SaaS and software offerings, and monetizing those offerings. Time has to be spent looking at those and getting the groups who are typically involved with managing those process flows to work together. The way you do your service delivery, you want to make sure that you're giving all the information you possibly can to your GTAC organization, so that when a customer does log a case or call in for support, the service delivery group can very quickly understand what the customer has, what they've purchased. If they don't have a valid, maybe they haven't renewed their service contract, there's an opportunity for discussions there to make sure that the customer still has a positive experience, and that, you're being paid for providing the service that you deliver. The customer visibility that we talked about. If you're giving your customers and sales and your partners visibility to what the customer is actually using, it means you get to have brand new conversations. You get to help your customers with their business planning and budgeting for, the next year. You get to help them build their business plans 5 years out, looking at the products that you have today and the products that are coming out, that you have coming out in the future. Sales gets to understand their customer from a product usage perspective, and not just from what they've purchased. So these are important things to provide from a licensing perspective. And if your company is already, like I said, spending money on digital transformation programs, licensing can be a part of that. And it's just another way to help with the funding and deliver on the value. So, Extreme, our journey. Well, we had our first release on Thales Sentinel Cloud in April of 2019. We did, the best way I think I could probably put this is the integration of Sentinel Cloud was straightforward. Where we had to spend the bulk of our time is with the business process redesigns and the changes to the back office systems. For the automation to work, for everything to be integrated, for things to flow downstream all the way to contracts and entitlements, to the entitlement management system and to renewals. There was work that needed to be done there. We delivered the new subscription business model. I think I mentioned previously that we combine software and service together in a single SKU. So to do that, to put that into a subscription SKU, you need a way to be able to recognize the different type of revenue that SKU now represents. You've got software in it, you've got service in it, you're going to recognize your revenue differently, it's going to hit different GL accounts, so on and so forth. We also implemented zero-touch entitlement activation. This was great. This delivered on the customer experience we were looking for. When the customer received our welcome email, they were basically told that, here's your activation instructions, install and provision your product if in fact it's a product that does get installed on premise, or use this registration link to get your SaaS solution up and running. And then the entitlement process was built right into this first product that we went live with. So it actually went over very well. It was well received. We had to ensure secure product authentication to the entitlement management system. So when the products are actually making calls for the right to use the features that the customer had purchased through the zero-touch activation, we wanted to make sure that those sessions were obviously secure, end to end, from the product all the way to Sentinel EMS. And then we had to start to think about, how we wanted to simplify the licensing onboarding process for products to help product engineering not have to spend a lot of time in implementing and embedding the new standardized licensing solution, the Thales Sentinel solution, because the product teams are going to push back, right? They're all about adding features for their customers. And if they already had licensing in their product, how are you going to convince them that they need to rip it out and put in the new standardized licensing solution the company needs to go with? So those are some conversations there that we were contending with and planning so that we could go out to the rest of the product groups. Release 2. Unfortunately, our customer master data was not in a situation to be able to give us a unique ID for each account. So we came up with our own. And we have a licensing specific customer unique identifier that we use to make sure that as the orders are flowing through the system, there's a unique ID associated to the account, which gets associated to the contract and all of the entitlements that are purchased. So that when a product makes a call to the EMS system, it uses the customer unique identifier to say it's a product making a call from this particular account, and to make sure that the pool of licenses, the pool of, we call them RTUs, right to use entitlements, that the product is communicating with the EMS and grabbing entitlements from the right pool. That was our September release. We have a release coming up in April. We did an integration with Aerohive. That's the former product known as Aerohive. It's Extreme Cloud IQ. That product is going to be a zero-touch entitlement activation product for this new SaaS solution. So we were able to take what we did in release 1 and operationalize it with this acquired product. We automated the registration for this product just to simplify the entire user experience. So new customers end up with a support portal account, which has all their licensing information, all the EMS information, the contracts information, so on and so forth. And that same account gets created in the SaaS solution. And then we, just the acquired product migration and onboarding, right? We had to take the existing entitlements and migrate them into our standardized licensing solution. So we had to go from what Aerohive was using and onboard the existing active entitlements into LEM. So that's what we're working on now for April. And to always keep our eye on the future, we have a licensing end-to-end feature function release roadmap. So the product teams always know what's coming out. We have our product onboarding roadmap. So for those products that still have, which are a good, good portion of our products still need to get onto this, the Thales Sentinel cloud solution. So we have a roadmap for getting products onboarded that meets the needs of their product release roadmaps. So that's all integrated together. And then obviously we have our digital transformation roadmap. So we work closely with the digital transformation team to make sure we're taking into consideration what we need to put into our end-to-end feature function release roadmap to support what they're doing, the changes they're making relative to digital transformation. So that's kind of where we are.
Thank you so much, Michelle, for that detailed and clear overview. Now, I would like to bring you and Manoj on camera to answer the many questions we received from our audience. Please note, if we do run out of time for our Q&A, We will be sure to reply directly to each of you after the webinar. Now over to you, Manoj and Michelle.